CWPA Remote.
Hi, I'm Ed Hawes, Director of Communications for the Collegiate Water Polo Association, and this is CWPA Remote. Joining me today is Lisa Michaels, an alumnus of the University of Illinois and a meteorologist at KFVS out in the Midwest. How are you doing today?
I'm good. How are you doing?
All right. Let's start with the easy question. Chicago native, around that area, growing up. How'd you get into water polo? And tell us a little bit about your college experience, both playing on the varsity level and then on the collegiate club level as well.
Yeah, well, I actually did not come from the common background like most of my friends playing water polo did, where they were on swim team. I was very involved in athletics ever since I was young. In high school, I actually was playing volleyball and basketball for a majority of my life. And then I had another friend who's extremely tall, and she's like, hey, why don't you come to water polo practice with me one day? And I kind of looked at her and I'm like, well, I never did swim team. I mean, I took swim lessons and I was really young, and I know how to swim. And I ended up going with her, met the coach, and the coach was like, well, we're going to go to a tournament this weekend. Why don't you come along and you can kind of see how the game's played. And I remember going to this tournament and watching these girls play, and I'm thinking, man, they are so good. This is aggressive. I don't know, like, how are they treading water and not drowning? And I remember the coach getting me in the water and teaching me, having one of the girls teach me how to do the egg beater. And then I kind of just started going to practice. And originally I started off playing in the field because I have a really powerful arm. And I liked it, but it was challenging for me because, like I said, I didn't do swim. So I had to kind of gain that endurance and gain that lung capacity that a lot of other players had. And then and it ended up being that one day our goalie got hurt. And since I was extremely tall and have a very long wingspan, that he threw me in the goal, and I excelled really well at goalie. And so I kind of kept that position because I really enjoyed it. And so I continued playing in college. I went to Carthage College and played Division III because I really wanted to play a division sport. And did that for a couple years. And then I ended up playing at the University of Illinois on their club team for another couple years. So I really gained a love for the sport. I always tried to watch online through the Olympics when it was on, to kind of just gain a better knowledge of tricks for my position, different ways to not only play better, but to maybe bring back to my team. So, for example, me and a couple girls, we actually went to an Olympic training camp in Florida and got to work with a bunch of Olympians, and I got to bring some of those skills back. I also got to play in the Junior Olympics prior to going to college, which was a really great experience. And I will say the competitive levels across the country are very different. I wish that in the Midwest we had the perfect weather to play outside all year long, but we do have winter and we do have the cold, and there's only so many facilities that have indoor pools, and I'm telling you, in the winter they're in very high demand. So we kind of had to figure out ways to get the practice in, and even if it was doing dry land stuff or going in the gym to still keep your muscles moving. For me, it was great because I was I was in different sports, so I kind of always had my body moving and in shape all year round. But water polo is definitely something that transformed my life. So I'm really glad that I was kind of welcomed into it and someone showed me it. And I'd recommend anyone to play it, really.
All right. I mean, obviously you have a unique profession for a water polo player, meteorologist. How did you get interested in the weather? And then what process did you go through, college-wise, and then now as a TV meteorologist, how does that process go? And, what interested you about the whole process and about becoming a meteorologist?
Yes. So I know I spoke with you a little bit prior to this about how I really wanted to go to a school that had a division team. And the schools that I was all looking at, they didn't have anything in my field of interest academically. So I really either wanted to do occupational therapy, because being any kind of athlete, you're always going to have injuries at some point in time. And I really became fascinated with trying to figure out how to heal your own body, or different stretches to kind of strengthen your own body when you get injured. And then I thought, well, if that wasn't going to be something I was going to do, if a school didn't offer that, I've always loved weather since I was a little girl. And I thought, well, being a meteorologist, or my degrees in atmospheric sciences, that's what I want to do. Well, the schools I was looking at, unfortunately, didn't have those degrees, which it really is important to have some sort of academic backfall, because if you do get injured, or maybe something else happens, you need it. Academics are just as important as athletics. And I actually found that Carthage was the one school where I could have the best of both worlds. But then after playing in division for a couple of years, I was unable to get my degree. And in order to get the accredited degree I wanted, I transferred to the University of Illinois, which I was very, very grateful that they even had a club program. Met a lot of friends, had a bunch of great experiences. We did a lot of traveling, whether I was in, playing for division or club. I definitely would say the competition level was a little different. Like I have a very serious competitive mindset, so I kind of had to back up a couple times and tell my, okay, Lisa, you love playing. You're used to getting up at 6 a.m. for practices and then practicing later on. Some of these girls, they just want to have fun with it. So it definitely was a change, but it was a great time to at least still compete and have that love and joy for this sport that I have, and be able to carry that into college. When I was in college playing, it actually really helped me learn how to manage my time well, because I was in a major that, as a meteorologist, it's a lot of physics, science, and computer coding, and being able to manage my workload, manage my social life, and then be able to continue to physically stay active and do something I love was really important. So I made sure after practice, hey, you got 2 hours before bedtime. Okay, time to crank out the homework, which was really, really good for me, at least. So I knew I wasn't slacking off. Through college, I kept playing, and it definitely was challenging with my major. Like I said, is being a meteorologist on TV. We make it look all pretty with colors and graphics, and I think what a lot of people don't realize is those graphics are not made for us. We actually have to make them ourselves, and sometimes they could take hours to construct. It just depends on what it is. The second aspect is forecasting. So we have to forecast ourselves. We don't have someone do it for us. And really what's entailed with that is we have to analyze a bunch of weather models. And weather models are made up of a bunch of mathematical equations mixed in with, I'm trying to simplify it, portions of the atmosphere that it's taking current data and importing into those equations as well. So analyzing it can take a while. And then we have to figure out, based on not only our experience, but analyzing everything, okay, what do we think is going to happen? And then putting a forecast into the computer, which also takes a long time. So through college, I was able to graduate, and I took my skills from water polo, which I will say the parts that have helped me the most were, in water polo, you learn to work as a team, because that's what you do. This is not like a single sport where you're competing for the best time, like you might in swimming, or if you're doing long jump in track or field or cross country. It's a team sport. So that really helped me apply that to my everyday job, because I have to work with not only my weather team, but I also have to work with a bunch of other coworkers in the office. The second thing it really helped me learn is, being a goalie, you kind of train by yourself. There's usually only 1-2 goalies. And I think it was challenging when I first started this sport to kind of feel left out. Like, why am I not practicing with everyone else? But I realized that I had to do a lot of exercises, for example, to be the quickest in the pool for a short amount of time, to be able to have the leg strength and endurance that some of the other players might not need. They might need more upper body strength to swim and to shoot. And for me, I had to focus on different muscle groups. So being alone really made me realize that, okay, I need to take this as a whole and also apply that to my job, because a lot of the time we don't get to see the other meteorologists as much. We overlap shifts, but it gave me at least the mindset, and it gave me the courage to realize I can do this. I can work with the team, but I also know how to be okay with being by myself, working on skill sets and working on things that need to get completed for work. So water polo 100% gave me a one-up in my field and really allowing me to excel in it. So for a little bit about my TV industry, I did about 8 months of interning in college at a station called, it was WCIA in Champaign. And then I ended up transitioning and took a job at WEEK in Peoria. And then I moved to where I'm at now in Missouri, which is in Cape Girardeau. And I work for KFVS as the morning meteorologist. So in my field, you can move around a lot. It just really depends what kind of weather you want to forecast. Do you want to be in a bigger market, a smaller market? So we have some pools here, and I try to get in the pool as often as I can. And, I'm still doing my leg workouts in the water, which really, really helps me out. It's been a little challenging because of COVID right now with things being shut down. So I'm trying to incorporate some of my dry land workouts actually inside of my place so I can still get that same workout aspect done. But not just water polo didn't only help me in my career. I mean, physically, I do like to be physically fit still. And I really do have all my workouts from, all the years that I played. So I do still incorporate those exact same workouts into my everyday life now, even though I'm not necessarily playing with a team. So I love what I do. Sometimes I wish I could go back to being young again, to playing with all the kids and going to the early morning practices, because I think we kind of take things for granted. And when we're younger, we want to grow up really fast. And I think when you get to that point where you're older, you realize, man, time's flying by too quickly, and I kind of want to go back and reminisce in those moments. So I definitely say for all the young kids who maybe are tired of going to practices or doubles or even triples sometimes when you have holiday breaks, really soak it in, because before you know it, you're going to be doing a job. And it's important when you're playing, I will say this, to do something that you love. Water polo is something I had such a great passion for, and I still do to this day. But the same passion you have for this sport, put it into an occupation that you're going to fall in love with. For me, weather was something that I've always had a great interest in, and I wanted to do a job that I could interact with others, but I also could help people out. And my job does spend time on the computer and sitting down at a desk, but I thought to myself, I don't necessarily want to do something where I'm sitting at a desk staring at a computer screen from 8 to 5. So what's something that I can incorporate my passion for weather? I can still sit at a desk but interact with people. And I ended up having a really great fit into being on TV. I wanted to work for the National Weather Service, but back in the time, there was a job freeze going on with the government not hiring jobs. So I was looking at other options in my field, which, believe it or not, meteorologists can work anywhere, not just TV, not just the National Weather Service. You can work in insurance companies, shipping companies, you can work for the military, the airlines. There's a lot of categories. I think people just generalize as being on TV the most. But it's something I fell in love with. And for me, I got to do a lot of storm chasing in college as well. So I've seen over 20 tornadoes up close, hail events, weird weather phenomena that you would not see in this part of the country, or at least in the Midwest or the East Coast. You'd have to kind of go more out towards Oklahoma, Kansas regions. And I think seeing the impacts of what storms can do made me realize that I am doing the right thing, because I want to be able to alert people when bad weather is on the way to get them to safety. And when I'm talking about making sure people are safe, it's not just talking about tornadoes. It could be something as simple as having rain in the morning that's going to impact your day, having flooding, having even ice. Like where I'm at now, we have a lot of ice, but even getting ice, I mean, people die from all of these things, because they might not take it seriously, or they don't realize the impact. It could be a couple inches of water and it could sweep you off your feet or move your vehicle. And there are a lot of people who die from flash flooding or even from lightning strikes if they're outside in the summer. So for me, it is a way of saving lives. And I can't tell you how many people have reached out to me and have said, thank you for informing us on what's going on, because of you and your team, we really were able to get to safety. And not have something bad happen to us. So it's a good feeling to have being in my field. It's definitely challenging. It's stressful. Social media plays a big role where we have people complain about things, but we also have people who really reach out to us and thank us for what we do on a day-to-day basis. I definitely think I would probably have a harder time in this industry if I was not playing water polo back in the day, because like I said, I've been able to apply a lot of what I've learned from playing over the years and working with different people and different coaches and really being by myself. And I've been able to put that into my everyday life. And that's really been a huge benefit for me. So like I said, water polo has been a phenomenal thing for me. I wouldn't change anything about it, even though the hard times, like I said, when I may have not wanted to go practice that early in the morning before the sun was up, but it's really been a life-altering experience.
All right. Well, we'll touch on a couple of things. I know the station put out some a video, like 5 facts on you. Not many people know you play the bassoon. I
do. About 10 years. I've played for a long time. My parents told me, look, if you're going to play an instrument and you're going to play that one because it's a unique instrument and it's not cheap, you're going to stick with it. So I definitely stuck with that for a long time.
How do you pick up the bassoon of instruments? I've had relatives that picked up like saxophone, one relative who picked up the tuba, and we won't get into why he played the tuba, but he loved the tuba. But how do you pick up the bassoon of instruments, of piano, trumpet, drums? I can see that, but bassoon is kind of a unique and very specialized instrument.
It really is. So it's a double reed instrument. For people who don't know, it's probably about 5 feet tall. Maybe, I don't know, it's not even half a foot wide, but it's a narrow instrument. And one of my siblings decided that they wanted to play it. And looking up to an older sibling, I'm like, well, I want to do exactly what they're doing. And the way our family heard about that instrument was, I don't know how too many people watch these anymore, but there used to be VHS tapes called Fantasia. Yep. It would be Disney, would have all those little snippets of cartoons and music in the orchestra playing in the background. Mm-hmm. And Mickey Mouse is in one of the scenes with a sorcerer hat on, and the actual sorcerer is sleeping, and he steals the sorcerer hat, waves his hands around, and gets these brooms to end up doing his chores for him and picking up pails of water from one place to the other. And that whole song is a bassoon. So since we would watch Fantasia a lot, my parents like to instill different kinds of music in our lives. My older sibling picked it up, and then sure enough, I'm like, oh, this is cool. I want to be just like him. So I picked it up, and we had a bassoon family before you knew it. So it was just something that kind of ran along, and I love doing it because it was different. It's challenging. It's actually one of the most difficult fingering instruments because there's so many holes and keys on it. Mm-hmm. So it's something that I guess I have to take private lessons on, but it's a very weird sound too. So if you look it up either on YouTube or something and you hear it, you'll definitely recognize it elsewhere. But yeah, so I chose a different instrument, which I kind of like. That's how I picked it up.
That's all right. I mean, there's nothing wrong with picking unique instruments. I saw also you have a relative, which this is the only time that we've been doing these, and this artwork sits behind me every day. This is the only time that it actually has any type of reference whatsoever.
I know.
You had a relative who won the 1912 Nobel Prize for developing the flashing light in a lighthouse.
I know, yeah. So that's something that's kind of unique about my family. I guess in my family, we have a really good line of science and being scientists and being good at math. And so, yes, one of my distant relatives did design that, which is kind of cool because you might not think about how much it's used, but especially if you're on the coast, ships use it all the time to make sure they're not obviously going to run into land, but that was one of the things. And then I believe this was the same relative also did something with the work of the incubator. So yeah, something that's kind of really, really cool. I know not everyone can say that they have that in their family, but it's in our genes. And I'm actually, a lot of our family's from Europe. My family's from Europe. So something it's kind of cool to say because not many people think about who discovered, everything, whether it's, for my instance, the light in the lighthouse or discovering, I don't know, something as simple as a chair. But you think about the time and effort it takes to put into developing something and then kind of seeing it put to use, not just here, but everywhere in the world. It's kind of cool to say I have a family member who's helped with that.
It's kind of a scientific family, science, and then
Yeah, I know.
today it's science. You know, it's like a continuation from one generation to the next.
I know. I'm hoping I can pass that on one day.
Well, the other thing is we always like to end these things with a question. What advice would you offer to someone in both water polo and also who are interested in going to meteorology and going into the same field? What advice would you offer someone in that situation?
That's a good question. I would say if you're looking to go, if you're playing water polo, or you're saying if you're playing water polo and you want to go into my field, probably times are going to be challenging. You're going to have to manage your time. As hard as it's going to be, whether it's, being a meteorologist or anything else, never give up. Never let your downfalls pull you down, because there's been many times where I'm exhausted, and I'm in practice and I was really tired to go to class, or, I had an injury and it was impacting, maybe if I had to write or do something. Never let that pull you down. Even if you lose a game and you play like crap, let's say, for a day, you are always going to get back up, and you need to get back up to succeed in life. So for water polo, you have to keep that in mind. And if you want to be in meteorology, you're going to apply the same stuff, and you might not realize it now, but you will apply the same aspects from that when you become a meteorologist. I definitely think if you're going to be in this field, you're a public figure, at least if you want to be on TV, and people are going to ask you about water polo. People are going to want to know, what is that sport? Because in certain areas, like here, for example, we don't have a lot of pools, so people don't really know what it is. But having the knowledge of, like I said, working with a team, either working by yourself, taking those aspects of learning how to be physically fit in water polo and applying that to your everyday life really, really helps out. It's not impossible to do what I did and play water polo and become a meteorologist. It 100% is doable. You just have to make sure that you make the time for it, because if you set your mind to it, then it really can be done. And that's what you just have to keep on striving to get to that place to where you want to be.
Well, that's a great place to end. Lisa, thank you for doing this for us, and good luck. Hopefully the winter is kind to you. And
I love snow, so I'm hoping for it. I know where I'm at right now in Missouri, no one wants snow, and I keep saying, oh, let's bring on the snow, but things are looking to be a little bit warmer. I think a lot of what we're focusing on with the weather in the future is some areas are going to have more wildfires. There's going to be substantially, like this year with the hurricane seasons could be a little more active, and then unfortunately that's something that we don't want to hear, but that's something we're focusing on. And I think I want more snow, so maybe I got to take a trip to Alaska or Greenland temporarily to get the cold. Because I grew up in it by Chicago, so being in the warmth is a little different. I always loved going to Florida for a water polo training camp. Let's say it was like 60 degrees and I'm in shorts and a t-shirt, and they're in winter jackets and tall boots. So, but yeah, the weather's always going to change. Maybe warmer's better, because then people can play outside more in the pools if they're playing polo, which would be nice. But thank you. It'll be good.
All right. Well, again, thanks for doing this, and good luck.
Thank you so much.